you for joining us for the 8th Annual Police, Fire, and Recreation Black History Month celebration. I'm Assistant Fire Chief Frank Stowe. Each year, our public safety agencies, along with the city's recreation department, recognize the contributions that African Americans have made in Winston-Salem's fire and police departments. Today, we will recognize a few of our retired public safety personnel with Trailblazer Awards and present a special memorial award. These honorees have dedicated many years of public service to this community, and it is an honor to celebrate them on this special occasion. In past years, we have also used this program to reveal the winners of the Recreation Department's annual Black History Month coloring and essay contest. Because of the pandemic, Recreation did not hold contests this year. Instead, it polled some of our younger citizens to learn what Black History Month means to them. We'll hear what they had to say later in the program. But first, let's learn a little bit about the history of African Americans in our fire and police departments. The fire department's African American story is rich in history. From 1865 until 1913, the towns of Winston and Salem each had their own fire departments. African Americans served in several volunteer fire companies during these years. In 1913, the towns merged and combined their firefighting efforts to form the Winston-Salem Fire Department. Throughout its history, our department has made many great historic and technological strides, from having the first hand-pumped fire engine in North Carolina to hiring the state's first African American firefighters. Ralph Black, Willie Carter, Lester Irvin, John Ford, Robert Greer, John Meredith, George Penn, John Thomas reported for duty on March 1st, 1951. After training, these 8 men were assigned to Station 4 on Dunleavy Avenue, making it the first integrated fire station in North Carolina. Among them, Lester Irvin worked his way up to the ranks, eventually becoming the first African-American fire chief in North Carolina. Willie Carter and Robert Greer, now both in their 90s, are the remaining survivors from that inaugural class. And March 1st of this year will commemorate the 70th anniversary in this historic event. The Winston-Salem Police Department began hiring African-American officers in February 1946. The first to join the ranks were John Joyce and George Dillahunt. Joyce had worked as a special duty officer and as superintendent of a juvenile detention center. Dillahunt had worked for Haynes Knitting and the Safe Bus Company. Later, the department hired 6 additional black officers: J.A. London, N.W. Smith, Joseph Knox, Spencer Davis, Joseph Gwynn, and Otis S. Belton Sr. The first female black officer, Miss Lillian Bonner, was hired in 1952. Because of the efforts of these trailblazers, other African Americans were able to pursue careers in public safety. Today, we recognize 2 retired members of the Winston-Salem Police Department, Assistant Chief Louis Saunders and Captains Otis Belton Jr., and posthumously honored the late patrolman Otis Belton Sr. The fire department will recognize retired Captain Sammy Bivens. In a moment, we will hear from our honorees, but first, some congratulatory words from our mayor and city officials.
Hello everyone, I'm Alan Joins, Mayor of the City of Winston-Salem, and it's always my pleasure and my honor to be a part of the annual Black History Month celebration here in Winston-Salem. Although, as we say every year, Black History Month should be recognized and celebrated throughout the year, but especially in February, we pause to take special note of the accomplishments of African Americans throughout our history. This year's theme, 2021 theme for Black History Month, is the black family, representation, diversity, and identity. I think it's very appropriate as black families play such a key role in our country and in the makeup of our country, and particularly during the social unrest that we've seen recently and last year. The black family played a key part of that. You know, every year during Black History Month, we pause to recognize and honor accomplishments of black individuals in science, in medicine, the arts, inventors, whatever it might be. We pause to learn and appreciate the African American culture, the literature, the music that's part of that culture. And each year we pause to pay tribute to the generations of African Americans who struggled with adversity and prevailed and made so many contributions for individuals today as we move forward. Names such as George Washington Carver, Shirley Chisholm, Frederick Douglass, John Lewis, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and Rosa Parks, just to name a few, because there are so many others that we could pause on. This celebration goes back many years, all the way back to 1925 when Carter Woodson announced that there would be a Black History Week. At that time, he called it a Negro History Week as they began studying the contributions. In 1976, then President Gerald Ford made this a whole month, February as Black History Month, and so that's where we're at today. So I just urge all of our citizens to take advantage of the many offerings during this month. There'll be so many ways to learn more about African American culture, Black culture, and to participate in that, and just really to take time to pause and remember the many contributions that are made by African Americans to our country, to our city, that's made us what we are today. Thank you so much.
Hello everybody, and again I'd like to congratulate this Public Safety's Black History Month celebration. Our city is so much better for this initiative taking place and those that thought enough to create it. One of the things that we all are living with right now is how our country has yet to embrace its history of racial discrimination and inequality. It's programs like this that help to bring awareness to the importance of African Americans in our community and this country. Again, I want to thank you and welcome you. Please enjoy the program and let's work to making our world a better place.
Hi, I'm Kevin Mundy, Council Member for the Southwest Ward, and I really wish I could be with you today to celebrate the success of these three officers that we're going to be honoring, especially this month as we celebrate National Black History Month. All of the accomplishments of all the African American officers, both on the police force and with the fire department. We're so grateful for all of your contributions. Thank you so much.
Each year, we celebrate the notable achievements and contributions of local African Americans in public safety. Growing up in Winston-Salem during segregation, we knew almost everyone. When I think of public safety, I think about Officer George Redd and Officer Joe McFadden, towering men who knew your folks. They would come to your house or school to guide and to protect you. The sirens of Engine 4 made you run out the door to follow the fire truck. Chief Lester Irvin, Ralph Black, Robert Harrison were always kind and helpful. And class trips to the fire station were fascinating, especially when someone slid down the pole. Today, you are our future legacies. You have made memories with the residents. So 20 to 30 years from now, you will be celebrated. What you are doing today is our future history. Don't devalue your contribution to ensuring Winston-Salem is a safe city with safe neighborhoods. Thank you so much for your service and dedication. I ask only one thing of you. Go to the city's website, locate the African American Heritage Initiative, upload your picture in your uniform, tell your story of why you are in public safety and who has inspired you along the way. Your story is very important, so tell it now.
Hello. I'm Chief Katrina Thompson of the Winston-Salem Police Department. At the Police Department, we believe it is important to observe Black History Month and the many contributions that African Americans have made to our city, our state, and our nation. I personally am indebted to the Black women and men in blue who came before me. They paved the way for African Americans to ascend to the highest levels of leadership in our department. This year, we are posthumously honoring one of these trailblazers, Dalton Sr, who joined the police department more than 70 years ago and was one of the earliest African American police officers. Belton led the way for his son, Otis Belton Jr., who also served in our department and rose to the rank of captain. Today, we also honor him and retired Assistant Chief Louis Saunders. While I've never had the opportunity to meet Otis Belton Sr., during my career, I had the pleasure of working under the command of both Captain Otis Belton Jr. and Assistant Chief Louis Saunders. Assistant Chief Saunders and Captain Belton, please accept my congratulations, not only for your standout careers in law enforcement, but for your service to our city and its citizens. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Trey Mayo, Fire Chief for the City of Winston-Salem. With names like the Red Hot Hose Reel Company, there are records of black fire companies in Winston going back at least as far as the late 1800s. At least 3 times between 1897 and 1910, the Winston Fire Department hosted the North Carolina Colored Volunteer Firemen's Association conventions. After the 1913 merger of Winston and Salem created the Winston-Salem Fire Department, both black and white volunteer fire companies were dissolved around 1923. Black firefighters were absent from the department for 28 years until, as Assistant Chief Frank Stowe noted earlier in the program, the city hired 8 black firefighters in 1951. Those 8 men paved the way for hundreds of black firefighters who, in the decades since, have followed them in providing fire and emergency services to the citizens of Winston-Salem. One of those is retired Captain Sammy Bivens, whom I have the privilege of introducing today. Retired Fire Captain Sammy Bivens is a native of Winston-Salem. He graduated from Parkland High School before earning degrees from Forsyth Technical Institute and Winston-Salem State University. Captain Bivens spent time in the Army as the Vietnam War came to a close, and he credits his military time with developing many of the personal attributes of which he remains proud today. Following active duty, Captain Bivens joined the Army Reserves and worked for a variety of employers before joining the fire department in 1991. He worked his way up to the rank of captain and retired in 2016 after 25 years of service.
And got a job really working for Forsyth County Communications as a dispatcher. So I worked there, but that wasn't that I really liked, sitting behind a desk, dispatching on the radio and stuff like that. I'm more of a hands-on field type guy, out in the open air and stuff like that. So I did apply for the fire department, and one of the guys that I knew at the time was Leroy Davis, who was a battalion chief at the time. And he said, "Sam, you'd be a great candidate for us." So I applied and was denied. But, persistently and over time I just thought, hey, this is like something I really like, and so I really applied again, and this time I was hired, and that's how I ended up being the fire department. And plus I was looking for something with a career goal, that would have some longevity to it, and that's what led me to the Winston-Salem Fire Department. One that really sticks with me over all the calls that I responded to was we responded to a pedestrian struck. But arriving on the scene, it was a 4-year-old girl who had been struck. And one of the things you always see or remember was the screams and the calls, the screams of the parents, that's on the sidelines, and the chaos that's running behind there. Well, with that call, like I said, we was able to treat the young girl, and then after treating her, we went to the hospital, and I met the parents, and then after all that was everything, the next morning that incident struck me so bad, so I decided to go by to see her of her well-being, and in that I took to her a teddy bear. My wife is a teacher, right, and 6 years later, she's retired now, but she was doing some substitute teaching at the time. And she had an incident in her classroom where it was this little girl, real rambunctious little girl, and she was kind of running around in the class and everything. But what she noticed about her more than anything else was this little girl had problem with her eye, and her eyes were, continuously running and stuff like that. So she was thinking, maybe the child might have, kids have pink eye and other things that she was thinking contagious, at the time. And the little girl spoke to her and she said, no, my eye is running because years ago I was in an accident and I was hit by a car. And that's just why my eye is running and stuff like that. And my wife asked her, she said, this can't be. So she said, was there a gentleman that came by and gave you a teddy bear? And sure enough, she said, yeah, and he brought me a teddy bear. And that's what this little girl remembered out of all that and stuff like that. And she called me. She said, you want to speak to him, the guy that brought you the teddy bear? And we spoke over the phone. And that's one of the best things I've ever had in one of the incidents. Out of the many that I, went through, but this was one that I, has stuck with me all these years. 30 years is a long time. You're gonna have 30 years of a career. And in those 30 years, you're gonna run into all kind of people of ethnicity and races from there. And on those calls and everything, be very respectful for everyone. Not only from yourself or for the people that you're gonna run into, but from your other members in your department and everything, because they're gonna come with you or come with all kind of, from their growth experiences. And then from there, for 24 hours, you got to combine those growth experiences to be one and everything. So that's what I would tell to everybody that's coming into the department today. Be very respectful of each other.
Since his retirement, Captain Bivens and his wife Marie have purchased an RV and are seeing the country. Captain Bivens, congratulations. Thank you for your service and best wishes for a long, happy, healthy retirement and safe travels.
Hello, I'm Assistant Police Chief W.S. Weaver II. Today, I have the privilege of introducing the police department's honorees. Like Chief Thompson, I too had the honor of serving with these men before they retired. Our first honoree, retired Assistant Police Chief Lewis Saunders, had a unique start to his law enforcement career. He came to work for the city of Winston-Salem in 1980 as an employee in the sanitation division. Less than a year later, he joined the police department and found his true calling. Assistant Police Chief Saunders served as a patrol officer for 10 years, and during this time, he earned a bachelor's degree in business administration at North Carolina A&T State University. He rose through the ranks, making sergeant in 1991, police lieutenant in 1996, police captain in 2001. In March 2004, he was promoted to assistant police chief. He retired in 2009 with almost 29 years of service to the citizens of Winston-Salem. I would personally like to thank Assistant Chief Saunders for the role that he played in my success. Literally 40 years ago, Assistant Chief Saunders recruited me to begin my career with the Winston-Salem Police Department.
Well, the thing that got me in law enforcement was actually I started out wanting to be a fireman. And when I got down to City Hall to interview, I was told, this was back in 1980, 81, I was simply told, man, we need some black police officers. So I decided to give it a shot after some convincing. And started a rookie school, and next thing you know, I was graduating, and I had got released on the street and found out it was something that I thought I could do for a career. One of the things, I was a homicide detective for some years, and I was also a juvenile detective. So I saw a lot of people in a lot of different circumstances. And I saw a lot of people who had more stuff than I ever thought I'd have in my life. And I've seen a lot of people in some pretty bad spots. And so I learned to just be thankful and take each call one call at a time, one citizen, and try to make a difference in that one person's life. And it was a tough job at sometimes, but the satisfaction of knowing that maybe you help a family get some closure or help a family move on after being victimized. So that was one of the main things that I got out of being in law enforcement for over 30 years. Well, you have to come to the table with some qualifications that the police department can't teach you. And that is, you got to come with a servant's heart. You got to believe, actually, as silly as it sounds, that you want to help people. Because you're going to be called everything but a child of God. But you know, then you're going to go to the next call, and the next person is going to be so thankful that you took the time for whatever their circumstance was, and you maybe helped them work through it. So I tell the young officers, you just got to realize, just like the motto is protect and serve. And it's people protecting and serving people. It's not an easy job, but it's an honorable job. And you just have to keep your eye on the prize and realize that what you're there for is to help people.
Chief Saunders, congratulations and best wishes for a healthy and happy retirement. Our next police honoree is retired police captain Otis Dalton Jr. Captain Dalton is a native of Winston-Salem. He received a bachelor's degree with honors from Winston-Salem State University, and he joined the Winston-Salem Police Department in November 1978. During his career, Captain Dalton served in the Field Services Bureau, the Criminal Investigations Division, and the Professional Standards Division. Along the way, he earned an advanced law enforcement certificate and graduated from the Administrative Officers Management Program at North Carolina State University. Captain Dalton retired from the Winston-Salem Police Department in July 2007 with almost 29 years of service to the citizens of Winston-Salem. I worked with Captain Dalton in our Professional Standards Division and in the Patrol Division, and we had a wonderful relationship. Thank you also for the aspects that you contributed to my professional career. As Chief Thompson has noted, Captain Dalton is the son of Otis Dalton Sr., whom we are also honoring posthumously today. Captain Dalton will tell us more about his father.
You know, coming from a law enforcement family, my father was a policeman, that I guess you're going to talk about later, but just seeing him and his interactions, and to be honest with you, the uniform and all that good stuff, and basically the way he interacted with people and the way people interacted with him just gave me inspiration to follow in his footsteps. Being a policeman isn't for everybody, but learning how to interact with people, treating people with dignity and respect, and I learned that this might be more potent than a gun. It's just the way you interact and deal with people, and learning that you know, everybody's going to have good days and bad days, and just learning how to you know, deal with that. Law enforcement is a very fruitful, very engaging career. But again, before you decide to do that, make sure that that's what you really want to do. Again, being a police officer isn't for everybody. But if you do decide to do it, just remember that if you treat people with dignity and respect, and just, you know, use common sense, you'll be fine. And I would encourage anyone that's interested in joining the police department to at least look into it, because like I said, it is a very it could be a very good career. I don't think I was born yet when my father joined the police department. I think he joined in the late 40s, early 50s. You know, at that time it was segregation, and I do remember some of the conversations he would talk about, you know, not being able to arrest white people, not being able to really drive a car. But he always said that he enjoyed dealing with people, and you know, in his way, that was the way of trying to give back to the community. Because, you know, at that time, a lot of people talk about community service and stuff then, but like I said, because they weren't really able to drive a car, you know, they interacted with the neighbors and with the community by walking a beat. And because of that, you know, they got a chance to really learn the community. I was living at home with him when I actually joined the police department, and you know, which was very valuable. He gave me a lot of tips and things to look out for, you know, while I was in training, which was very helpful. For a brief period of time, probably around 1978 or 79, we were both together in the police department. I think he was working in the fleet division, and I had just basically joined the department and had just gotten released from field service training. He served close to 33 or 34 years with the department. Actually, he died before he actually retired. Yes, he was 66 years old. I think he was getting ready to retire, but unfortunately he had a massive heart attack. Well, my father, again, was you know, very passionate about his job. He really loved being a police officer, and he loved the Winston-Salem Police Department, and in turn, you know, he also loved the citizens of Winston-Salem. So he took that job very seriously. And again, I've talked to people, you know, within the community, and a lot of them are very appreciative of the things that he did to help him out, whatever that may have been.
Captain Belton, congratulations, and thank you for telling us about your father and his service to the citizens of Winston-Salem. And now, let's go back to Assistant Fire Chief Frank Stowe.
Each of our honorees today had a great career, one that gave them pride in their community and enabled them to provide assistance to those in need, some whom were having the worst days of their lives. For the complete biographies of our honorees, go to the Winston-Salem Police and Fire Department web pages and the city's website at cityofws.org. As mentioned earlier, the Winston-Salem Recreation and Parks Department participates in our program every year. Here is District Recreation Supervisor Gary Lash to tell you more.
Greetings. My name is Gary Lash with the Winston-Salem Recreation and Parks Department. Each year, as part of the celebration, we do our Creative Arts Black History portion of the show. So this year, due to unforeseen circumstances, we won't be able to do the Creative Arts portion. But in lieu of that, we wanted to speak to some of our youth and find out just what Black history means to them.
I think of the time when there was slavery and the time when there was segregation, when white people and black people couldn't drink from the same water fountain, use the same restroom, go to the same school.
Like, we can all be equal and fair with all non-racism.
But you still have some people with rebellious to this day who don't like our race. So therefore, us blacks have to stand together and stand up for one another.
For our black community to shine and have their time when it should always be that way. We're celebrating everybody who stood up for themselves when there was segregation and there was slavery.
Black people doing all the stuff that we've been doing
going through all this stuff, and we're still living here. Honestly, I think Black History Month is a beautiful thing.
That was wonderful. It's always good to get the perspective of the young minds in our community. Now, we're going to turn this back over to Chief Stowe and the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Gary, and thanks to the young people who participated in the video. I also want to thank our Mayor, Alan Jones, our city officials, and our fire and police department personnel for recognizing this year's honorees. We hope that you have learned something about the contributions that Black Americans have made in the field of public safety here in our city. This concludes our year's virtual Public Safety Black History Month celebration. Hopefully, we will be able to come together in person next year. Until then, follow the city on social media at City of WS. You can follow the fire department at City of WS Fire and follow the police department at City of WS Police. I'm Assistant Fire Chief Frank Stowe. Thanks for joining us.